versus, you know, coolness and good looks, hey, go a long way, for me at least. But if you really want people to participate, you've got to have an agenda and a platform that actually means something to people. And when that was Obama's greatest gift to the United States, is all those people for all those years who never bothered to vote because they knew it's never going to have an impact, suddenly felt compelled, as if they were on the cusp of history, to make a difference. And they were the older people, not the younger ones. Yes, young people got involved, that's great because of Twitter and Facebook and all of those things. But it was the older generation that had seen nothing change, that felt, yes. And that doesn't mean that Obama will be able to change everything, but at least he was able to instill some hope in people. And I think that is what is so important. And what is missing for immigrants and refugees, there is no hope in the political process. No hope of change in their lives, at least. And I think that is important for us to recognize. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Sunny Young. I'm a mayoral candidate. I'm participating. I'm one of 3 Asian mayoral candidates. There's also Mr. Hussein and Mr. Ghazi. I think he's Bangladesh. And he's talking about social justice. The problem is that you're right. There's probably 400,000 to 500,000 immigrants and refugees in Toronto that, you know, pay property taxes. Their children go to schools and so forth, and they can't have a say in who's their trustee. And I'm wondering how we can pressure the provincial government to change that law that was available but they took back. And on a side note, I do give deputations, but I'm to the point, and if you don't raise issues, let's say, of affordable housing, then all the people that talk about arts and childcare will monopolize the time, and then they'll go, oh, no one talked about affordable housing.
Yeah, no, I know. Arts and, you know, song and dance. That's what multiculturalism is all about, man. It's all about song and dance. What I call sari and samosa syndrome, right? Like, you can wear your sari and eat your samosa, but don't talk about power sharing, yeah. I learned that. In terms of municipal franchise, there is a campaign afoot, as Sherlock Holmes would say. And that campaign has actually gotten the support of our outgoing mayor, which is Mayor Miller. But it has been initiated by the Maitree Foundation and some community-based organization for municipal franchise to be reinstated, to change the Municipal Act, and to give municipal franchise to permanent residents. Just because they are permanent residents, the rationale being that if you are a permanent resident, it is quite obvious that you'll be going for citizenship, right? I personally think that's a very good agenda, but I personally think franchise should be open for all residents. I don't care whether they are permanent residents, and I don't care if they're going for citizenship. Because to me, voting is not a privilege of citizenship. It's not a gift of citizenship. Voting is a right that people should have no matter what. Even if you're a non-status person, you're still paying taxes and living in this country. You're not paying taxes to CRA, but you are paying taxes when you buy goods and services. And you are contributing to this society, and you're only non-status because the state doesn't give you status. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the state's problem, not the person's problem. And as far as I'm concerned, all residents, not just permanent residents, all residents of the city should have a right to vote. And there is, but like I said, you know, I'm a political extremist, as they call me. But, you know, those who are far less extremist than I am are actually, yeah, there is a campaign, and maybe you, as a candidate for mayor, can champion that.
I will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You should champion the cause of changing the Municipal Act and giving franchise at least to the permanent residents, because they are on a trajectory to citizenship. I still think it's a flawed premise, but nevertheless, I mean, it's something, right? So, yeah, okay, there you go. There's a new political platform for you.
I'm running as a candidate for Ward 28, which is
MashaAllah, excellent.
Thank you. So I just wanted to ask, when you, and I have Regent Park and I have St. Jamestown in my constituency, so 2 at-risk areas, if you will, and also some of the most affluent areas of Canada, King and Bay, for example. So great extremes. So when you speak about hope, I just wondered if you could elaborate a little more on what would give hope when I go to the door and talk to immigrant families.
The fact that you are there. Hey, no, but that is hope too. You know what, friend, I'm really excited this time in the municipal election because a couple of my cronies are actually running, young men and women. I don't think they'll win, but I wish they would, because I think if all of you won, maybe the discourse at City Hall would change from Mr. Ford's kind of discourse to a little more meaningful discourse. And a couple of Chinese of my Chinese colleagues are running, so I'm hoping they'll win, because then Mr. Ford will really have a problem, given that he has a problem with Asians. I think when people like yourself are running for city council, what you've got to do is not run on an ethnic ticket. Okay, you're not an ethnic candidate. I don't know where you're from, but if you're from India, for instance, or you're from Sri Lanka, you're not running for Sri Lankans and Indians. You're running for that constituency. And so what you have to do is to make yourself run on a social justice ticket as opposed to an ethnic ticket. And I tell you why. Because this is another problem for political participation, is that people like yourself running in constituencies don't get the support of mainstream structures. Like if you ran for any of the political parties at the provincial and federal level, they're very happy to have a brown face or a black face running for them. But sure as hell wouldn't provide them with any kind of help. And politics takes money. So what I'm suggesting to you is that the tendency therefore is for someone like yourself to turn to your community and say, grandma, can you be out there canvassing for me, right? And exploit all your relatives and your children and your dog. But the thing is, you've got to go beyond that. And your message can only go beyond that if you talk about the socio-economic realities that face immigrants and refugees and that face priority neighborhoods across the board. So if you are in, say, Regent Park, the demographics has shifted. You're talking about Bangladeshis, you're talking about Somalis, you're talking about Tamils, but you're also talking about long-term residents who are Caribbean, long-term residents who may be Latin Americans. You cannot afford to run on a narrow ticket of being a brown person. You have to run on a ticket of what matters to Regent Park. If there is, revitalization taking place, how is it impacting on the local community? Are they participating? If you were at City Hall, would they have a voice at City Hall so the next time planning is being done for their neighborhood, they actually get to participate in that planning? That's the kind of agenda I think you need to bring that will bring hope. That maybe my voice gets to be heard, and if I show up at your doorstep and you get elected and I show up at your doorstep, you're going to listen. And you're not going to turn only to the homeowners or the business people, but you're going to turn to those who are disenfranchised, who may not even vote, but who are still part of your constituency. Just because you run from a neighborhood and say if you run from a neighborhood of 20 people and 10 don't vote, you're still the candidate for that 20 people. So your policies can be, you didn't vote for me, so I don't get to do something for you, which is how a city councillor sometimes work. And I'm hoping that that's the kind of political agenda that you can bring. I mean, social justice causes cut across. And I think you can go a long way towards it. I should be a political campaigner. Yes, you should. I tell you, I don't get enough money this way, I should run somebody's campaign. Anybody? Yeah, see? Yeah, I like it. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to follow up on a comment you had made during your talk. You had mentioned about how, like for example, the Tamil protest last year, you had mentioned how the minute they started walking on the Gardiner Expressway, they became an immigrant community, and people didn't really want to hear or care what they had to say about their particular